Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, MF Ghost, Season 3.
Yep, MF Ghost, Season 3, Episode 7. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and we missed a couple weeks because, if you haven't seen our first two videos this week, Age was in danger of his house burning down, so he's on constant evac, and several other things going on for him, so there was, no time to record. So now we're in full catch-up mode. Next week and the week after, we'll probably have 2 episodes a week, so we get back on schedule, catch up with everything, so we're set to go at, the beginning of May for the spring stuff, like Slime and whatnot. But as for MF Ghost, I've been checking a lot of stuff with Fire Force and stuff like that, and just before we went live here, I checked or started recording. This obviously is not a stream. But we are currently on chapter 150 of MF Ghost, as the source material stands. And it wrapped up in the middle of last year, in case anybody didn't know the source material, and it goes to chapter 275. So we're a little past the halfway point. So this is probably going to be about 5 seasons. It's going to be 5 seasons. So we got 2 more seasons after this, unless they do a 2-core 4th season. But yeah, I thought we'd be 2/3 of the way in or something like that. Not so much. But as Age pointed out, we still got 2 more races to go in the season. The MFG season. So that's going to be a reasonable amount of time. I assume they'll probably be your typical holiday shenanigans. You know what I mean? That'll be the next downtime now that summer is apparently already over after 2 episodes. But, it'll be interesting to see how this is handled. That's something I kind of wanted to go into. And that's not really spoiler territory. You know what I mean? It's okay, this is how much longer the series is going to be if they decide to adapt all of it to anime form, which I can't imagine they won't. There are certain other shows that when we finally get around to have time to do other videos, I want to talk about stuff like Comey, stuff like that. But for MF Ghost, I'd be surprised if they didn't finish it. For anybody who watched Initial D, the predecessor to this, they did finish Initial D, but because of shenanigans, Season 5 never got a dub for English, so that was kind of weird. But those were some weird times for anime when Season 5 of Initial D came out, so there was a lot of weird stuff going on there.
Yeah, so far they've largely stuck to just doing this right, which typically the only time a show really kind of drops off is just if it stops performing. But even then, a lot of times studios will finish a series off if they're not that far from finishing it.
Right.
Typically, the most weird thing is just when series handle series weird. For example, it's unlikely we'll ever get another season of freaking Dragon Maid.
Yeah.
Unless some studio decides to reboot it and do it properly this time.
Yeah. I mean, we did get that movie recently, so I don't know. But we'll just have to see what's going on with that. But either way, that's just something I'm going to kind of check on from time to time with our longer running series, just kind of see where we're at in source material. So yeah, anybody interested in that? We're about halfway through, 2.5 seasons in, and we got 2.5 to go, basically. Basically on the dot. So I can't imagine they won't finish it based on... I've seen a lot of other random shows. We talked about something like I Parry Everything. Anybody who saw us do that last year during our transition period after my first channel had its shenanigans stuff to talk about. But I never thought a series like that would get 2 seasons, and literally 2 weeks after I was yeah, probably not, and then it was just there, and it's yeah, no, we're doing it, and I'm just yeah, thanks, it's great, I'm glad I look like an asshole and I have to point it out now. So I don't know, it's always kind of a weird thing to look at for the industry, is what things get more seasons. I know a lot of people are bent out of shape about things Rent a Girlfriend getting as many seasons as it's gotten when the source material does well, but people don't like it. You know what I mean? And there's a difference between it being bad and people not liking it. They don't like the story. They don't like the direction of the characters. They don't like the way things are going, which is totally fine. But I'd like to remind people If that is the case, I hope you're voting with your wallets. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to stuff like that. So if you don't like the direction Rent a Girlfriend is going or anything else, stop supporting it if you are supporting it in any fashion. And that includes just being on a random website and having ads going off in the background. That's supporting them. So it's always kind of fascinating with stuff like, especially like one of the biggest things that I know of in my area is World of Tanks. People complain about that game all the time. If more people were vocal with their wallets, real change might occur. Instead, they keep raking in money, and I see a lot of big time streamers of that game go, I recognize a lot of your names in chat, and you're the kind of people that complain about this, that, or the other thing with valid concerns and stuff like that. But then when loot boxes come out, hey, whoever, I just came in and bought $300 of loot boxes. Like, weren't you just bitching about the game? Like, literally the other day about, so why are you supporting it? What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a super big thing for the longest time now to hate on League. But yet it's still like one of the most played freaking games in the entire US.
Right. It's like, League just put out a $700 skin. Rabble, rabble, rabble. Meanwhile, on the other side, here comes everybody, like, 20,000 people buy it. It's like, okay. So, either way, all that random stuff aside, we're going to get going here and continue our catch up for whatnot. So, people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube beyond, we'll see you on the other side for the discussion and review to a timer reaction and YouTube stuff. So, watch whatever you feel like. So, we're going to push some buttons and get going. So, here goes something. Well, alrighty then, you guys have it. Let me turn our background track back on. I didn't push that button, but that's okay. Shun figured it out. Usually characters like him aren't that intuitive. But,
well, I mean, he's obsessive over Angel 7, so, like, the odds that he wouldn't immediately, like, notice the similarities.
Right. And her running away didn't help anything, so, it was what it was. But, awkward situation followed by awkward situation. This was a very awkward episode across the board, honestly. If you guys watch the timer reaction, I'll get to it. But, this whole situation, fairly classic beach episode. Or not even a beach episode, but beach skit. Let's call it that, because it was only part of the episode. Fairly, bog standard. Nothing wrong with it. The classic, got random nerds trying to pick up chicks on the beach and them ignoring, guys like Ogata because they're dicks. And then the second that they, it's always that famous hypocrisy of you walk up and you're a pickup artist and they do what those guys did. And it's just like, oh yeah, like what are some cute girls like you doing here? Blah, 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 right? And they just tell you to F off. And then immediately guys like this just turn around and say, well, yeah, you're not that hot anyway. F you, I'm walking away. It's like, clearly you thought we were hot because you came up to us. If they were really fours, as these guys pointed out, guys like this wouldn't have gone up to them. Okay?
Yeah, which, I mean, the animation tried to make them out as a bit of like butterfaces kind of things, of like they gave them like the overly round faces and the very plain features.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like everyone was still freaking still trying to hit on them and stuff like that, like even Shun was.
Right. So it's really not that big of a deal. And it's just it's fairly classic. You gotta appreciate it. And since I did skip over it, this whole situation, Kaneda keeps getting punched in the face, man. His freaking just left cheek cannot catch a break. He just keeps getting hit right there. It's gonna be like that classic. If anybody watched the King of the Hill revival, the first season that they did of that, they did a supreme callback to when Bobby does the "That's not my purse, I don't know you," and kicks Peggy right in the cooch. And like when this doctor brings up like this, oh, it looks like you were, sustained an injury from being kicked in the cooch by a 12-year-old or something. And in this case, it's like somebody's going to scan Kanada's head, and it's going to be like, it looks like you've been punched in the left cheek like 47 times. What the hell?
Yeah, which in this situation, Kanata, not being able to bring himself to say anything does kind of hurt the situation more.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day,
because in the grand scheme of things, he didn't really do anything wrong. Like, he only just found out that Ren is number 7, and once again, the whole thing of like, well, don't fall in love with number 7. He's gotten close with Ren. He didn't never actually try to get close with number 7.
Right. So once again, like I said during the reaction, there was technically he didn't do anything wrong, and at the end of the day, all he had to do here was, hey man, I just found out about this at the end of the last race, and what do you want me to do? I didn't go after number 7. I went with Ren. People that I thought were two different people until literally, like, I don't know, what was that, like 2 weeks ago in their universe time? So, come on. It's really not that big of a deal at the end of the day. So...
yeah, once again, he just found out, and he freaking went out of his way to like really not interact with number 7, which is part of why he didn't figure out until just now, because he had basically never interacted with her outside of that one time she randomly came up and punched him.
Yeah, and to top it off, he knows that she wanted to keep her being an angel a secret, so I could have added that to this whole discussion. So a lot of awkward misunderstandings in this one. Like I said, this is like Awkward the episode. This shouldn't have been titled End of Summer. This should have just been like Turn Awkward. Turn 31 Awkward. That could have been the episode title. But I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things that just I don't know. It is what it is. But at least they had a good time. There was that. And then we have this. Now, her character aside, I wanted to start with the car. And don't know if they got that. There we go. Like I said, when I saw this last week, or not last week, the last time we recorded, I was like, I wonder what this green car is going to be. You know what I mean? I need to know what year Aston Martin Vantage this is, because I haven't seen any in like probably the last decade. If this is how they look now, I will be totally fine with it. You know what I mean? But the Vantages I know, specifically from, say, stuff like iconic Bond movies, it's like one of the Bond vehicles. The Aston Martin is like the Bond car, the Bond car brand. You know what I mean? Regardless of what, trim it is. In this case, it's a Vantage. But this thing has nothing discerning it. Like I said, this is like the average sports car. If somebody like wanted to show me this, and I talked about it a little bit at the end of the reaction. And if this is how it looks without its badging, if this is like a 2020 or something, or like a 2025, whatever, fine. Okay. But if this is how it looks now, it is fallen from grace. Because those cars, at least in the past, once again, without having looked up what the newer ones look like, say from like 2015 on, I don't know. It seems like it's lost a lot of its like iconicness. And it still looks like a sports car, obviously. It has the lines for a sports car and stuff like that, but just everything about this shot right here. Maybe because that green is just not doing it. It's not the classic Aston Martin green. And anybody who knows that green knows that it ain't this.
But the first image on Google, when you look up Aston Martin Vantage, is this color.
Well, maybe they went away from their more like emerald, like pearly green to flat. I mean, I've seen a lot of that recently. Anybody who's potentially like an LA Rams fan, they borked that logo when they remade it for LA and stuff like that. A lot of, do you guys remember like the Cracker Barrel logo scandal? stuff like that. Just because change isn't always better. Better is better. And generally speaking, you don't mess with iconic stuff. Like recently, I think a recent thing is like the original like founders' children or something of like say Reese's peanut butter cups. They found out that they were like skimping on materials, ingredients in this case, and they weren't using real ingredients. They were using real fake ingredients. If you guys know what I mean by that when we're talking about candy. And they got all over the CFO and CEO and stuff like that, and we're like, no, you need to go back to using the real stuff. And that was a whole thing. So I don't know. There are certain things that I don't think you mess with, like me being a Chevy guy that I am, obviously. What they've done with, like, say, the Corvette, they've tried to turn that into a European sports car. It's not the Corvette anymore. You know what I mean? The Camaro is a friggin' tragedy these days. As far as I'm concerned, the only real American sports car that remained for the longest time was the Charger. And, you know, yeah, the Mustang still exists, obviously, but I think any Chevy guy knows why I don't pertain myself to any kind of Mustang stuff, but I'll give it its due. At least they haven't really changed the Mustang too entirely. But it's still just, I don't know. If that's the case, if that's what it is now, then that's kind of disheartening. Even as like not like an avid like Aston Martin guy, just like knowing how iconic that was and how like, you know, the kind of stuff that it stood for. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, if that's the case, then so be it. But yeah, I will do some research on it after this episode, just for pure curiosity, so we can talk about it a little bit next time, because obviously Emma's only going to be around for this one next race, but still, she's clearly, so she claims, based on everything that we got after this. And well, you know, it brings an interesting another major European manufacturer into the mix for stuff that's going on. And if she's within very close times of Akaba's times, that's pretty damn good. That's top 5 times at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that means she if in the last race, all things being relative, she would have came in 4th or 5th, depending on the situation. Like if she could have passed Akaba or something like that. But yeah, that's very impressive. Even if Kaneda was very dismissive of her, like, oh, you shouldn't be here, blah blah blah. It's like, well, you know, if she's one of Fujiwara's students and she was like 3rd in her class, that's still an insanely good driver. You know what I mean? So obviously being on par with Akaba is still better than hundreds of drivers in MFG. You know what I mean? So that's nothing to, like, you know, turn your nose up at. But her real problem, obviously, is the fact that she's delusional. She's one of those that thinks they were in a relationship when they weren't, and she's being self-serving. And I talked a little bit about this, probably a little bit more than I wanted to at the end of the reaction, so maybe you can check that out for a little bit of that. But it's TLDR, she's doing this because she wants to do it, not because it's what's best for Kaneda. You know what I mean? Just because he doesn't want to be, say, the whatever they called that, like the young driver something or other for England.
Yeah,
that doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean? Like if you want to look at, say, let's just talk about fame and fortune for a second as pertaining to their universe. MFG is pretty damn big in Japan. For those girls at the beach, they know what MFG is, and they know who Kaneda is. And you know what I mean? They're probably the purest definition of bandwagon fans because he's hot. So they'll probably watch it. You know what I mean? And understand, oh, you're an MFG driver like Kaneda. So they gave Shun the time of day. A little bit more, obviously. So pretty damn famous. They talked about how they had several tens of millions of followers, subscribers, you know, viewers of every race. That's not a small number. You know what I mean? That's still very, very large when it comes to crowd appeal and how much money they can bring in and stuff like that. Obviously, they talked about how much the drivers make and stuff like that, especially at the top end where all their things like, replacement tires and some replacement parts are covered for them by how Ryosuke and Keisuke set this up. You know what I mean? By sponsorship deals and stuff like that. On top of what we talked about, like, what did Kaneda make in his first race? It was like something like 100,000 US for coming in 7th or whatever he got in the first race, and he covered like everything Ogata needed to for the car. So
yeah, plus also, just being a race in MFG gives you a lot of that stuff covered.
Yeah.
Automatically. Which, yeah, the number they kept throwing out is 30 million, which, assuming Japan's population is about the same, because this isn't that far in the future, that's still like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people on average would recognize you.
Yeah. Especially in the race mode, 1 of 16 people that are in those races. So, in Japan at least, you're probably what you'd reasonably consider, should I say, is a household name. Because you could probably average out to be 4 people in a household in Japan, something like that, probably on average, based on various factors. So it's just, you're still doing pretty good when you're coming to fame and fortune. You know what I mean? If Kaneda did this for, I don't know, 10 years, he could have like $40 million, assuming all things remained relatively the same. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's missing out on anything, and maybe for certain people, certain awards are more prestigious to them. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody would rather have an Emmy as opposed to an Oscar. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? Especially with how there are so many different award shows of varying varieties out there for any different category and field these days. Every other minute, there's like Crunchyroll's doing their anime awards right now. It's like, and how many of those do we get a year? Like 27? Does it matter anymore? You know what I mean? It's just a bot popularity contest of who has the biggest botnet, right? I mean, look at what's going on with the JoJo's versus Frieren fandom. It's like, why are you guys even fighting? It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, we don't want your show to have a higher score than I. Okay, I mean, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you. So I don't know. It's just one of those things where, circling back around to what we're talking about, she's being self-serving, and she should just respect what Kaneda wants to do. You know what I mean? So we had the whole node discussion.
I sent you a screenshot of the real life equivalent of her car.
Okay.
It's a 2005 V8.
So this is supposed to be an 05. I mean, yeah, that thing looks like it has most of the trim taken off, and I can't. I'll put this. I'll have Victoria put it in the other so you can see. But I looking at this, I will say they phoned it in on the headlights. That's for sure. When you even just like the iconic Aston Martin badge, like the wings that they have for their logo, that would have probably been enough to make it reasonable. You know what I mean? But these, in the case of her vehicle, it looks like the lights are like very fogged out for some reason. It's design. And they just went really hard on the deep green and like black hard lines for it. You know what I mean? I don't know why. It just maybe for whatever reason green doesn't pop in this art style. I don't know. It just looks off. You know what I mean? Compared to every other vehicle in the series.
Yeah, green isn't a creative color.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. Feel free to disagree with me. I don't know. It doesn't have that Aston Martin vibe, especially with the shot that age that I'll have Victoria put in there. It's just, I don't know. If it was that car, then yeah, I probably would have recognized it immediately. Especially, I would have recognized the wings on the Aston Martin. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah,
It looks vaguely similar, but yeah, like that apparently is supposed to be what her car is, according to what I was looking up.
Got it. So it's supposed to be an 05, and yeah, that's pretty much what I remember from those kind of vehicles. So yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. But this is going to be an awkward situation, especially with everything going on with that. She has her own narrative in her head as to what she thinks needs to be going on, and she's probably a very controlling person on top of everything else that we saw here. Generally, people that are like this, the second they're in a relationship, they're, telling you what to do at every step and turn. You know what I mean? Why aren't you brushing your teeth at 8:45 exactly? That kind of crap. You know what I mean? The Neptune's in retrograde. Why aren't you out there, working on whatever, that kind of stuff. that kind of OCD controlling madness.
Well, yeah, no, it's because they're not in a relationship with you. They're in a relationship with their idea of you.
Yeah.
And anytime you differentiate from their idea of you, it becomes drama.
Right. And unfortunately for a lot of the people that are on the receiving end of that kind of stuff, they slowly turn into that, much to their detriment as just a person. And it's a real bummer to see from the outside. Because I've experienced it. I've seen it. It's just, I plain and simply, I brought it up to the person. I've seen it happen twice. I brought it up to both people and said, hey, this is what's happening, man. And one was a man, one was a woman. And they just kind of brushed it off. And I was like, I won't bring it up again. I just wanted to tell you. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of aggravating to me because, once again, I'm not a fan of stuff like this, just from that kind of perspective. From a writing perspective, there's nothing wrong with it. Very realistic. Not hating on the writing, okay? I just don't like the situation. From an objective writing standpoint, yeah, it's fine. Totally realistic. There are people like this out there. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with it. But I just don't like it. It's not bad. I just don't like it.
Yeah, no, once again, that's something that people need to kind of get over, is that freaking thing of writers do need to include characters that you don't like.
Yep. Yeah, it's no different than having a good bad guy in WWE and wrestling, that kind of thing. You have to have a good antagonist. You have to have stuff that's realistic. You have to invoke every spectrum of the emotion, not just the good ones. You want to dislike a character like this, potentially. You know what I mean? Kind of like how you probably want to dislike Sawatari for his womanizing. That kind of... You know what I mean? You want to dislike Beckenbauer because he's an emotionless turd.
Yeah, even the quote-unquote good guys, the guys you're supposed to be rooting for, should still have some sort of negative aspects to them that they can work through. But especially the characters that you're not supposed to like need to have negative things about them that you don't like.
Yeah.
Once again, my biggest example / gripe with this recently was the whole thing with freaking Sparkle and Star Rail. Oh no, she said something that could be construed as a slur towards a fictional race.
Right. Imagine that. Fictional racism is offending people. I mean, let's not pretend it didn't exist or can exist in a fictional universe. Like one of the biggest all-time most well-received episodes in the Teen Titan series from the early 2000s, Troc. That was a racial slur for Tamaranians by a lot of other people in the galaxy or whatever. And they really nailed it with that episode. And, it's probably always going to be a thing, regardless of what happens. You know what I mean? So you can't ignore it like it doesn't exist. It's going to exist, and in fiction, writers should use things like that to bring more realism and life to the characters, because not everybody's the same. You know what I mean? Not everybody is going to be like that, especially in a fictional universe. So it is what it is. You can't be mad about fiction. That doesn't, just because they wrote a racist character doesn't mean they're racist about things in real life. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But I don't know. The rest of this episode was I did mention this as it was happening. It's like, hold on a second. Emma doesn't speak any Japanese. Perfectly fine. Got it. What I will say, generally speaking, the major other language that Japanese students learn is English. For us in America, it's usually French or Spanish. Latin sometimes. I had that in high school, but those were our options. You know, I didn't have any kind of whatever. Generally speaking, in Japan, it's English because it's one of the most used languages in the world, obviously. But
yeah, also most of their tourism is friggin' Americans and Chinese.
Yeah. So, but either way, the whole situation here was, hold on a second. She doesn't speak Japanese, but Ren immediately understood her accusation of, oh, so this is the girl you're dating. Now, I'm glad she clarified herself later on here when she was alone with Emma by saying, oh, yeah, I can pick up about like 70% of what she's saying. So she would probably have to get like really stupid English technical with all the stupid words that we have now for Ren to not understand her. You know what I mean? By this point in her high school career, she probably is like what I'd consider casual fluent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most Japanese high schools, at least basic English is mandatory. It's just if you want to go beyond understanding like basic English that you have to like actually elect into.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people do for various reasons. But once again, I was like, that made no sense for a second because it's like, hold on, she speaks no Japanese. We could just assume that Ren knows some English because what we just talked about. But still, it was like she reacted like perfectly to like everything that Emma said in English.
Yeah, which like Ren said, she actually does take like forget what you call it. Suddenly drawing a blank on the freaking term.
Elective English.
Like, yeah, elective English.
So yeah, that was just another thing that kind of like for a second I was like raising an eyebrow at, and then they clarified it. As Ogata points out, which again, I don't know why she didn't just call Kaneda. I'm pretty sure he has a cell phone. Yeah, imagine calling a Japanese person and just rambling at them in English. And then once again, he responded to her in Japanese, telling her to hold on a second. She's not going to understand him, potentially. And
well, we don't know. That's part of the issue with the dub, is we don't actually know if he responded in Japanese or English, because once again, he should know at least some basic English, as long as he didn't forget it from his high school years.
Right, yeah. Which, you know, he might. So, just the whole thing was just a little weird. Just translation stuff is always. But, yeah. It will be interesting to see what they do with this, because once again, we're about halfway through the series as it sits right now, when it comes to source material. And having a character like her, she said she's only going to be around for one race, to drive in one race. That doesn't mean that she's not going to get an apartment with her winnings and medal with him for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, plus also the whole thing of like him basically saying that MFG's too much for you kind of thing means she's probably going to just be here for the one race to try to convince Kanata to get out, then realize there's more to it than she thought and get sucked into doing the fifth race as well.
Yeah. So remember that love rhombus we were talking about? It just got worse. Because if the Sawatari stuff happens, which I can't imagine that it's not going to happen. There is no freaking way it's not going to happen. I will be genuinely surprised if it doesn't happen. So this is just going to get awkward. And across the board, we've talked a little bit about this in the past too, so I'm not going to really go into this super much. But the stuff that Emma was talking about here in her discussion with just Ren was, you know, oh, we're two adults. Okay, but at the end of the day, yes, what she said is correct, but on the other side of it, he's 19 and she's 17. It's not like the whole Shun situation that we talked about back in season 1. You know what I mean? So this whole false bravado thing, or real bravado, probably more real for her, is it'd be more believable and should hit Ren more at home, even though she took it the way she did. It'd be more of a reasonable thing from the outside looking in from an objective standpoint if they were both like 24, 25 and she said that to her. You know what I mean? Then yeah. Not 19 and 17. Because Ren gets 1 year older and Kanata, then it's just 20 and 18. That's nothing new and exciting. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, there's also the cultural differences here that Emma doesn't fully understand because, once again, in Japan, the age of consent is only 16, and in their culture, a lot of relationships do form in high school.
Yeah. Like
long-term relationships.
Right. And there's still a lot of like pseudo arranged marriage stuff that goes on. So,
yeah,
you know, that like, oh, this is my fiance. It's like, what do you mean? You're only 15. Well, our parents thought it'd be a good idea and we like each other, so why not? You know, whatever. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff still happens. So it is what it is. But yeah, this the awkward banner is what this episode was all about. So it's probably going to be taxing on me from a personal standpoint if she keeps pushing those buttons that I would absolutely shut down as me. You know what I mean? I'm going to be shaking Kanata from behind the screen, just like, tell her to F off. You know what I mean? Also, you know, just maybe explain yourself a little bit better when it comes to certain situations. Stop getting punched in the face. You know? I mean, I guess when they were at Grandma's house, Ren punched him in the stomach. So, you know, just, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the Shun situation probably will resolve itself. I mean, like, he clearly, like, freaking Kanata feels bad about it, and Shun, like, immediately was like, yeah, no, I know he's not doing it maliciously, but I still have to stand my ground kind of thing. So, like, it's going to be a thing of, like, once they actually talk about it, it'll probably be resolved pretty quickly.
Right. So, from a vehicle standpoint, I hope they've done something with the 8.6 off camera like they said they were going to. Circling back around to remember how they said they were going to upgrade the 8.6 for the next race because of the speed sections and stuff. I hope we get that next time. That'd be fun. So, anyway, super annoying discussion aside, you got anything else, Age?
Apparently everyone uses the same freaking VR like sim cafe to test the freaking racetracks, except for Kanata because he doesn't need it.
Right, because again, for anybody who might have forgot, photographic memory, just like his mom. So he kind of just, we saw it in the beginning of this episode. It was him just kind of taking the course, you know what I mean, and driving the course in his head. So he doesn't really need the simulator. And where we saw that, like in season 1 and 2, where he was doing like the motions for shifting and turning and stuff like that too.
I mean, according to the narrator, by this point, like only like 2 weeks from the previous race, he's already done 200 test laps on the new course.
Right.
In his head.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, when he's on like the train or whatever, that's what he's doing. He's taking some laps. So, yeah. Either way, yeah, it was cool to see some stuff like this and that kind of thing. But yeah, again, I hope we get back to more car-related shenanigans. I don't have to talk about this kind of relationship crap in a show that isn't super about relationships outside of Kanata and Ren's. But you know, it happens. You have to have what do you even want to call that? Like romantic intrigue in a series. Like even Initial D had it when. You guys remember when Iwatani really dropped the ball with that one girl, and it was just you wanted to punch a wall? Like, damn, you're a dumbass.
Yeah, the relationship stuff in Initial D, I couldn't stand. Like, that was the biggest issue with Initial D, in my opinion. Was like so much of the relationship stuff was just annoying and just felt like it was only there to spite people.
Yeah. It was like one of those ones where it just you wanted to just punch the wall. Like, I can't believe they've done this. But again, at least the last bit with Takami's actual now wife was actually pretty okay. But all the other interactions that the drivers had with women were not great, and not like in a like disrespectful or like they did something bad to them. It was just like super awkward. It's like annoying to look at it and watch it because like like I said, one of the biggest ones was the Ikutani thing where he effed up the base and the gas station owner was like, "Are you stupid?" And then nothing ever happens with it, so real bummer. Yeah, he's still at the gas station. Would have guessed, right? So yeah. Anyway, all that stuff being said, I'm still looking forward to the rest of this season. I'm sure we'll get into the qualifying here in the next couple episodes, that kind of thing, and then we'll probably, end the season on the race and stuff like that, and whatever. Especially now that we know we have the timeline for where we are at in the source material, being this is literally like the halfway point. So we're 2.5 seasons in, and if they do finish it, we'll get 2.5 more seasons. So 2 more seasons after season 3. So we did on 5. That was something I'm glad I looked up for just everybody out there and myself. So I'm going to stop rambling.
Keeping at the pattern they've been doing, we're going to start the 4th race at the end of this season.
Yep. So anyway, all the rambling aside, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by and hanging with us in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo. This is MF Ghost, Season 3, Episode 7. The next couple weeks here, we will be having 2 things a week to catch up on the stuff that we missed. So next week, you'll probably see Episode 7 and 8 on the same day, probably, 1 in the morning and then 1 at night, so YouTube doesn't yell at me because, big-time creator that can upload 17 videos a day and not get mad. So, that'll be what it is. But, yeah, so have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.